What does it take to create a vibrant, thriving life? First, the sad news is that Thoreau was right. Most people are leading quiet lives of desperation, lacking in meaning, fulfillment, and vitality. But we choose more. We choose to create extraordinary lives. And the Art of Vibrant Living show entertains you with inspiration, empowerment, and education to create your life into a masterpiece. It's time. Let's vibe up. Welcome, y'all. Aloha. Daniel Aaron, your host. Welcome to the Art of Vibrant Living show. And I'm just so excited, tickled pink, well, a little bit white, but tickled pink to have this be our inaugural show. And I've been for so long planning and being inspired and excited about bringing you this show, which, good thing you're sitting down, it's all about the art of vibrant living. And I have such an amazing guest for you today, a colleague and a friend, a great business guy who really lives the art of vibrant living and is here to share with you about it. And that's what the show is all about, is to empower you to break free from the soul-sapping grip of mediocre monotony and create truly vibrant, thriving lives. And as more and more of us awaken to our true potential, together we are creating a world where true peace and prosperity flourish. So, y'all, I'm just so excited that you are here, whether it's live or on the rebroadcast. Excited to share with you. And on that note, let's get right into today's show. Coming up on the show is my colleague, friend, mentor, and in fact, the producer of this show, Brian Kelly. And he's an amazing human being, first of all, with a huge heart. And he's got a tremendous background in business. And I bow like this because what he knows in his head about automation and coding and what goes on beyond this, behind the scenes to make things work, especially in the modern business world. And look, whether you're into business or not, you are going to benefit so much from learning his story and also what he can share with you about the way business works and the way automation works, because it's an increasing part of all of our lives. So on that note, without further delay, Brian, thank you so much for coming and being with us today.
Thank you, my brother. I was still trying to figure out who you're talking about during that whole intro. I appreciate all the glowing words. I mean, if you just talked half that nicely to me when we talk in person, I'd be so over the moon happy. I'm kidding. Totally. He's always like this, ladies and gentlemen. Daniel is an amazing, he's got a heart of gold like no other, and he's become a dear friend of mine as well. And I'm so excited for you, Daniel, to be kicking off your inaugural show with you. It's just an absolute blessing to be here with you. I appreciate it, man.
Well, awesome. Thank you. And I'm excited. So Brian, you've got an amazing story. And we don't have time for all of it, though. I would love if you would, give our audience a little bit of background on how you get, how you got to be who you are and what brings you here today.
Oh my goodness. So I was born. No, I'm kidding. So we could start. Yeah, I just found out when I was really young, I developed the incredible drive to be more successful than the environment I had lived in. I grew up in a lower middle income class family, more lower than middle. And I didn't know that until I became old enough to realize and recognize things that were different about me and my family than my friends. And that was about junior high. And up until then, I had the greatest childhood. I didn't know any different, played sports. My parents did the best on the planet. They only knew what they knew, and they did the best for us. No complaints at all about them ever. But when I became a junior higher, I will never forget. There was a movie, an epic movie coming out. This is before social media, before internet, really. And it was all word of mouth and newspapers and things like that. And so all of my friends were just buzzing about this new movie that was coming out, and I couldn't wait. And the buildup was immense. And so I remember going home one day and said, Mom, Dad, can I please have a ticket to go to the movies? Because everyone's going to go see this epic show. And I want to go there too. And I'll never forget, they looked down at me and said, well, sorry, son, we can't afford it. And back then, a movie ticket didn't cost what it does today. Even that, if you put it in perspective, it's still not a whole lot of money to say, I can't afford to send my child to go off and have a great experience with something. And that's when it hit me. I mean, not that instant, but I'm like, I was disappointed, of course, because this was a big movie. It was the first ever movie of many that were to come called Star Wars. And I never will forget the next day going to school after it premiered, and all my friends went. I'm going to school, and I'm like, what language are you guys talking? I don't understand you, because it's R2D2, C3PO, Chewbacca. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? And it just really alienated me in myself. I allowed it to, and I thought, man, I am never going to be put in a position or a situation where I have to look down at my kids and say the same thing. At least I'm going to do my very best not to. I was born with an inherent drive anyway, but that's really what spearheaded it. And ever since then, I've gone 100%, full throttle when it's something to help my family and our situation. And now above and beyond that, even more importantly, or as important, are everyone else I come in contact with. I just love helping people. It's just something that God put in me. I just cannot stop it, and I won't. I love it.
That's beautiful. And isn't it fascinating the way like certain events that seem like nothing at the time can have such a profound impact on our lives? And normally I would not be the kind of companion or show host to say, well, I got to tell you about my Star Wars story. But in this case, I do, because so funny that you bring that up, because I remember it crystal clear. We must be near the same age, because I remember when that movie came out, and I was our family, I guess, was doing just a tiny bit better financially than yours was, because my mother did take me to the movie. What I noticed though is at the movie, she was so stressed out about it because we had enough money to pay for the movie, but then we got there and she didn't realize that she was going to have to pay for parking for the car.
Oh no.
And it was not cheap, for us, the parking. And this is classic my mother, and I'm with you, no complaints, but it taught me something profound. We watched the movie, and I hope you've seen it by now, at least. It was, it was like mind-blowing and phenomenal, right? And we come out of the movie, go and get in the car, and we're driving out. And it was, the days when you drive through the turnstile or before you get to the gate to drive out. And there's actually somebody working in the little booth, like a toll booth there. My mother, bless her soul, out of nowhere, poor like teenage guy working at the booth is like, hands, gets the ticket, gets the money. And my mother out of nowhere goes to him. She goes, I hope you're happy. And the poor guy's like, and she's like, because, parking costs so much. We didn't have enough money for popcorn. And I'm sitting in there in the passenger seat, one of like 1,000 times with my mother. I'm like shrinking down, like, oh God, I'm so embarrassed. I'm like, Mom, it's not his fault. He didn't do it. And relatedly though, like you, that was for me a moment of like, wow, this can't be the only way of living. Like, yes, where, we're so upset about what we can't do and what we don't have that, one, we're taking it out on somebody else, and two, that we can't have what we want. Like, it's got to be possible. I saw other people there that were eating popcorn. I know it's possible.
Oh, I love that, man. That is like so on point. And yeah, I believe that, and that's a great example of how many people do think, and nothing against your mom. I mean, we're all kind of wired that way to take out our frustrations on people who had nothing to do with the reason why it happened. And the great thing is, well, later in my life, I learned to be more at cause about everything that happens in my life, and not to point fingers or blame elsewhere, but to look in the mirror and say, well, I had something to do with this. There's some way, somehow I was responsible for my situation today, right now. And no one else was. I cannot, and I will not blame anyone else. And when you go to that extra step and you take cause. And many of us don't want to do that because that means, I'm not saying it's your fault, but could you somehow in some way be even a tiny bit responsible for whatever incident just occurring? And the answer is always yes. And the more you can do that, and the more ridiculous that situation can be, where it's like, how could I have had anything to do with that? The more you're going to train yourself to be more at cause. And when you're at cause, you're in power of your own life. You're not giving it up to others. When you're giving out excuses, you're giving up your power. And so it was a great lesson I learned. I was like, 48, 49 years old when I learned that lesson, almost 10 years ago. Now everyone's doing the math. That's okay. Let's get that out of the way. So yeah, great stuff. That was a great story, because I think we've all been through something similar, either us doing that and saying those things to somebody, or witnessing it with someone else that we love.
Well, and I thank you for that. And I love that you already pointed to when you learned that lesson, because you must be psychic, because I was just about to ask you, in fact, like, how did you learn that? Like, what happened that you learned? And also, and before you answer that, would you also, what would be another way of saying at cause? Because I know when I first learned that language, I was like, what does that mean, at cause? Would you put it in another language too?
Just taking responsibility in any amount you can for your current situation. It means, we can either have excuses, or we can have results, meaning positive results, but you cannot have both in any and every situation. It's a 1 or a 0. You either can or you cannot. It's up to you. And the beautiful thing, the wonderful thing, is we, all of us, to a person, have a choice how we react to every situation in our life. Can we be reactionary? Look, is it okay to be human and have emotion and get upset or even pissed off? Yes, we're built that way. But it's more important than then, how do you quickly turn that and do it with authenticity and say, look, there's no need for that kind of reaction. And now I'm going to calm down, and I'm going to choose the path of being at cause, responsible, and not make an excuse that happened because someone else did that, or that happened because some other environmental factor did that to me. No, I chose to be where I'm at right now. I'm under the rain. I am somehow responsible for the rain hitting me in the head right now, if that's what triggered me. So yeah, I'd say responsibility and, excuses versus results is the bottom line.
Yeah, nice. Okay. So how did you figure that out?
I didn't. I got a mentor. I trained under an amazing young man, very young. He could be my son by age. That's another thing I learned is I used to not think highly of anybody that was lesser in age of me, because they didn't have experience like me. But I got mature and realized, man, there are a lot of young people that know more than I do in many areas. So I can learn from them too. And this young man's name is Mel Cutler. And he had a seminar industry or a business going. And I ended up going to it, and it was all about using neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, but with a twist. And very few did this at the time. It was NLP for business, directly targeted to improve one's own business. And when I learned in that, this is where I learned being at cause. This is where I learned that you can rewire your brain for success in an instant, rather than years on a couch and getting, someone taking you back through all of your horrid events to try to help you come to terms with them. And NLP just says, we don't care what happened in the past. We're just going to fix it. It doesn't matter what it was. We're just going to fix it and move on. And it does. It works as a science. And I remember going, because I was always very hesitant to have anything come anywhere near my mind. And this was mindset work. It was reprogramming one's mind at a subconscious level. So I was really guarded. My mom, I'll never forget, when we're watching TV at home as little kids, and they have a stopwatch going back and forth on the TV, and they're about to hypnotize somebody. It's all an act, but she would say, look away and don't listen, because she thought they could steal our faith in God, in Christ. And I was like, it scared me. So when I first learned about it, I was guarded. I was like this. And then I learned that you cannot be reprogrammed to you cannot be programmed to a different set of values that you already have inherent in you. It's not. They tried it many years in the Army and other ways, vicious ways of doing it, and including hypnotism and all kinds of stuff. And they could not make someone. They could not. What's the word? I can't think of the word. They could not reprogram one's mind. Mind control. They couldn't make it happen. So if you're not born innately to be a murderer, you're not going to be reprogrammed into being one. And I thought, well, it's now that I know that, and now that I know we're going to use this for good, I'm in. Let's do this. And I went all the way in, all the way in. And I eventually ended up, long story, make it real short, becoming his lead trainer, speaking his content from his stage to his students. And I did a full half of every seminar for a couple years. And it was the greatest experience I've ever gone through in my life. And I learned that at a deep level, to learn, do, and teach. To learn something at the very deepest level is to teach it. And it's so true.
Yeah, beautiful. So, yeah, and I love that you brought up NLP, neuro linguistic programming, which I've heard described, and I've studied a bit myself, and I've heard it described as the study of success, right? It's the science of success, what actually creates success. And, in case it's not obvious for anyone, neuro meaning brain, linguistic words, programming. And so ironic too, like what your mom's thinking, that's the time to turn away when there's also the wise way of looking at things, which is television is in itself, its entire programming, like tell a vision. And that's part of what I grew up in my lower middle class family. I often talk about the standard American diet. And that's, what got me to be a fat kid was the food, but it was also the vision of, consuming, right? The vision of being not at cause, the vision of being at effect in the world. That was the vision that was being told all the time. So I'm curious though, you said a couple things in there that I think are really key for the art of vibrant living. One is you allowed yourself to open up to your mentor, Mel, even though he was younger than you, right? Which to me implies a certain level of humility, right? And you also were willing to be in a position of not knowing, right? And I've seen this happen so many times where people, I don't know, they have some feeling like if they don't know, or if they humble themselves, that means something's wrong with them. Or in my work as a coach, and I've seen it in therapy, no, I'm not going to do that. That's for that's for other people because there's something wrong. And I've always thought like, well, shit, if something can help, right? If it can make things better and it doesn't hurt, there's no downside to it. Like, I'm all in, let's go for it. So how did you have that humility, or what I would think of as wisdom? What brought you to saying, yeah, I'm willing to be receptive here?
I certainly wasn't born with it, because I was that one person that always thought if I'm not right, there's something wrong. You said that beautifully, that others will think less of me because I'm admitting that I don't know everything. It's just this inherent thing. And what I learned in large part through my time with Mel was there is this 3-letter word that all of us have that caused this, and it's called ego. And the more you're able to recognize it when it happens, and then adjust to it, and it's like that little devil that pops up on your shoulder, the ego's going and yammering in your ear. Well, that's the time to just flick it really hard and get it out of there. And then that opens your mind to say, okay, it's okay to say, there's three, I always say there's these 3 words that are the three most dangerous words, that if you were to utter them either to yourself or out loud, that whatever you're sitting down to do right now in a session, if you're going to learn, you're going to shut off all learning, and it will be shut off, and you won't learn a thing if you were to utter these 3 words. And those 3 words are, I know that. And we all have it. I always tell everybody, we all have that hat, that I know hat on. And I always tell, take it off. I know it's make believe. Take it off right now. I tell them to do it physically. Grab the brim of it, find that open door, and throw it out like a Frisbee. The cool thing is when you'll still do this even when you're aware of it. The cool thing is be aware of it happening, number 1. Number 2, then reframe it. And it's okay. Say, I know that. And I wonder what else I can learn from this today. Now you've opened your mind to be receptive of new ideas, new thought patterns. Because how many times have we heard the same thing? We think it's the same thing over and over. And I already know that inside. And we're folding our arms and we're like, oh, let's get to the next subject already, because I've heard all this. Well, this opens you up. And now you're like, hey, I wonder what different twist this person could have on it that could lead to more knowledge to me, to lead to more understanding, the next step in my business, whatever it happens to be. And then, gosh, it just makes life exciting and it's not boring anymore, because the repetition, or the, oh my God, I said it. I lost it. But one of the keys to mastery is repetition. Yes, there it is. And because you will see it differently. Like if you read a book for a second time, it seems different. And everyone's like, how can that be? Did the words in the book change? No. Did the pages get ripped out? No. Did anything change in the book? No. So what changed? Guess what? You did. You're now ready for the next story that you weren't ready for the first time through. Same thing with I know that. If you are able to recognize you're thinking, oh man, here we go again. It's like, wait, I wonder what else I can learn from this. Then you just open up your whole, oh my gosh, it just excites you. Over time, you'll learn that you're going to have this great vigor and vibrancy for life that you didn't have before. I'm not kidding. I mean, it's an amazing thing.
Wow, beautifully said. You'll appreciate this then, right? Because a lot of us heard our friend Tony Robbins say many times, repetition is the key to mastery. And years ago, I was doing his Platinum Partnership Program, right? Which is this crazy expensive 1 year, like do everything, kind of sit in the front row thing. And one of my best friends when I was doing that there, who was also in the program, this guy, Oliver, he was from Germany, but he lived in Thailand. And he and I were kind of like the most bohemian of all the, like, because it was like $100,000 plus. So most of them were like these very high level business people. And I was living in Bali at the time. And he was on, I don't remember what it was, maybe his third year. And I remember being with him at one of those seminars, like you were at Mel seminars. We were at one of those seminars, and I was sitting next to him, and somebody came up and they're like, Oliver, how many times have you done this seminar? And it was like Tony Robbins' like most basic one. And Oliver's thought about for me, he's like, this is the 23rd one, right? And I thought I was a bit of a nutcase. I had done maybe 3 of them. And they're like, they looked at him like, what is wrong with you, man? And he caught their look, didn't have any reaction at all. And I was just, observing this whole thing. And it was so brilliant. He's like, well, I'll answer you. They didn't even ask the question, but the question was just hanging there. Like, why do you keep doing it? But he answered the question in a way which was, until I have applied everything that is being taught in my life and I've mastered it, I'm going to keep going. And I was just like, wow, like next level. So I'm right there with you in terms of like, I know that dangerous words if we want a vibrant life, right? If we want to thrive, because one of the keys to vibrancy, keys to a good life, keys to success, right, is learning, right? There's always more to learn. One of my favorite jokes is I have a great home here in Maui that I rent, and the biggest room in this house by far is the room to improve. There's so much room to improve in my life. So
nice.
So I mentioned the word success. You mentioned the word success. How do you define it? And what do you think is like, what are some of the top keys for you in creating success?
I love this question because it's one of the key questions I ask on my show, and it is very subjective. Every person's definition of success, their definition of success today is different than the person sitting next to them and the next to them and next to them. Every single person. And then whatever your definition of success is today will be altered not far from today, and you'll have a different definition. It's an ever moving target for me right now. My definition of success is I'm in the beautiful state of Florida. We just moved here. I'm in an Airbnb awaiting the close of a brand new home. It's not a new home, but for us, it's a new home in Florida, and it's our dream home. It's a gorgeous, large, on the water, ocean access home. And for me, the definition of success is the day we move in is going to be my definition of success for that day, or for this iteration of what that definition is, because the whole reason I wanted to get here and to be on the water was because of my wife. She went through a bout of breast cancer recently, and during this period, she shared with me something I didn't know about her. And we met in high school. We're high school sweethearts. She shared that whenever she's near a large body of water, the ocean, this was in Southern California at that time, she feels incredibly good, and it feels good to her, and it's healing to her. I'm like, wow, I had no idea. And then she said our daughter was the same way. And I confirmed it with my daughter. I said, I didn't know this was a thing. So instantly my drive became very strong to get us in a place that is on or near the ocean. And I knew California wasn't a good place to do that for so many reasons. One being cost compared to Florida. And so for me, definition of success is getting those keys, opening the door, and bringing my wife into our home that's going to brighten her life every single day. We're gonna have side-by-side offices that they look out over the water, and it's amazing. I can't wait for you to come visit it, Daniel. I know it's a long flight for you, but we're gonna have you come out. That's my definition today because my wife is my why. If she's happy, then I'm fulfilled. That's just what it comes down to for me.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And, having a why, having a reason is so important. I heard a definition of success recently that I like. So I'll add it to your collection, which is that success is winning at the game you want to be playing, right? So what's the game you want to be playing? Is it money? Is it leadership? Is it love? Is it service? Is it vitality? Like it's, or even better, progressing in that area. You and I both love quotations. Winston Churchill is credited as saying that success is stumbling from one failure to another without a loss of enthusiasm. Now, you're doing well in your life and running successful business. You've got this home that you're moving. You're able to create this for your wife. But I'm just going to go out on a radical limb here and guess that maybe at some point in your life you experience, besides Star Wars, experience some kind of challenge that humbled you, or you learned from, or required some level of resilience or grit. Is there anything that comes to mind for you that was something you overcame that's helped define you and create more success?
Yeah, one thing that comes to mind is I was quick to pull the plug on things and give up because, we all grow up in an instant gratification society, and I wasn't getting to that level of success I wanted fast enough. So I would shift gear and focus and go somewhere else. Shiny object syndrome comes to mind. Jumped from network marketing company to network marketing company. Ended up saying, you know what, it's tough building your own organization. It never works the way they say. So I had the opportunity to become a co-owner of a network marketing company. And I said, that's the ticket, because now everybody is in my downline now. I'm a co-owner and I don't have to build it and spend the time recruiting. Went through a lot, learned a lot through that. And we didn't give up on that one. We probably should have given up on it sooner than we did. But it did not succeed after, I think it was 3 years. We did everything we could, learned a bunch. But it's more about resilience. It's more about you got to really, really believe in what you're doing, or it's not going to happen. I hate to tell this to people that think they have a passion for something. I used to be in personal fitness, certified personal instructor, and I thought I loved it, and I did, but not as much as I truly love automation, which it wasn't even my purview back then, like automation. It's about listening and being open to hearing what other people perceive about you. Those that love you, those that want the best for you, especially, not those that are the naysayers. And I had 3 people in a very short period of time say something similar to me. One said, when you talk about fitness, I don't hear the passion. He literally said this to me. He had his own boutique gym across the country from me. Good friend. He said, but when I hear you talk about automating things, that's when I hear your passion come through. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. It comes natural to me. I love it. It's easy. Oh, that's interesting. And my wife said something similar. She goes, anytime you tackle any new project, you automate the bejeebers out. I was like, huh. And then there was a third one. This is all within a 1 month span. And the very next month, I kid you not, I pulled the plug on a fitness business that I had spent 2 to 3 years building. Tons of videos, workout videos, all kinds of stuff that I developed. I literally deleted everything in one day, and I felt zero remorse. And I said, I know I just did the right thing. And so, are you going to know what the right thing is? It's tough. I can't tell you you're going to. It's like, when do you know that you found your true love? It's a similar question. There's no way I could tell you that. It's just, you will know, you will feel it. And it will and it's not going to happen. Usually it doesn't happen as your first choice, your second, third, or fourth. So you just go through the journey of life, enjoy every step, learn as you go. Don't make the same mistakes that you made before, but make more mistakes, more different mistakes. Like you just said, fail faster and go through life and love it as a journey. And eventually, if you keep moving forward, stacking those pebbles, you will find that one thing that really moves your needle. And perhaps you could actually make some money at it. And that's where you go, that's where I'm hanging my hat, at least for now. And then 5 years down the road, you might say, I actually like that better. That's the beautiful thing about life. It never gets boring when you have so many choices and there's never a ceiling where this is it. There's nothing else ever. That would be the worst life and forever. So there's always an option to do something different, to climb higher, to achieve more success, to help more people, to serve more people. But just continue going forward. It's like a ship in the water. Unless it's going forward, you can turn it left, right, and the other way, but you never know if you're going to make your destination. You have to actually get the oars in the water or turn on the engine, and it needs to go forward. You could be going the wrong direction, but at least you have the ability to alter the course by this thing called the steering wheel or whatever it's called on a ship. I'm not obviously a person that does it, but you can turn that wheel and right the ship and you might go back and forth until you finally hone in. But at least if you're moving forward, then you will eventually find it. You just keep going. Just persevere. Don't ever give up.
Nice, beautiful, nicely said. And what was it? Nietzsche said, "He who has a big enough why can endure any how." And I remember when I first got into Strengths Finder, the Gallup poll, one of the best tools for understanding what we're good at. Like one of the really surprising distinctions that I got from that was it doesn't say what we're good at, right? What our strengths are. And if you look at your top 5 strengths, it's not necessarily what you're good at, but it is what you are predisposed toward. And if you're predisposed towards something, you got enough interest, passion, energy for it, then you're likely, or it becomes possible to stay in it long enough to actually get good at it, right? And so I got one more thing in response to what you said. I want to flip a question back from related to what you just said. One of my teachers, kind of a friend, is a guy named Derek Sivers, who got famous years ago for a company called CD Baby. And this was at the very beginning of online music. And he was a musician, and he figured out how to take his music and sell it over the internet, right? And he did that essentially because he had the mind of a coder. Coding, maybe we could say, and I'll ask you in a minute, is another word for automation, right? But he figured out a way to do this and to do it in a cool way and to do it in a way that had personality to it. And then his friends started coming to him, his musician friends, who didn't understand the business side. And they said, can you help me with this? And so this company was born, it blew up. And I think this was, don't quote me on the date here, but like late 90s, he sold the business for, I think, $19 million and gave the entire thing to charity. And that was a lot of money at that point. All right. And then he moved his life into becoming a thought leader, we could say. He's written several books. And one of his books was something like, or maybe this was an article, I forget how it came about. It was like 27 ways to create success, 27 ways to become a millionaire, and to be happy, something like that. It was all put into one package. And one of the things he said in there was learn coding. And I remember when I read that, I was like, are you kidding? Like coding? Like that's computer geek stuff. Not only don't I understand it, I don't have any interest. It's not possible. But over the last, for me, just the last few years, I've realized like, well, coding is just like automation, is just like developing habits so that we don't have to think about and do the same thing over and over again. It becomes imprinted as part of who we are. So that long preamble is sort of to ask you, what is automation? Why might people care about it and benefit from it? And why do you love it?
Oh, wow. I'll start with the first one. Why do I love it? I started way back. My first software class learning to code was in college. I went to a 2-year college to start and then transferred to a 4. And yeah, it required immense patience. And that's where a lot of people don't want to do it. And I get that. I totally get it. It takes immense patience because writing code is in itself an art. It is like writing music, because to get to the same solution, you could use a myriad of different ways to get to that solution, writing the software. And so I love that about it. It was a creative process. The thing I loved about it more, though, were the results, because when you've done it and then you've written the code, it runs a certain path. You put in an input and it gives you a desired result, whatever that result is that you're looking for. And then you test it and make sure it accounts for all perturbations and all possibilities that you're interested in. And then you let it run. The beautiful thing is, once you've done that, you've coded it and tested it, it doesn't make mistakes ever, unless there's a problem with the hardware, the computer battery runs like it, but the software is not going to make a mistake if you've tested it. And you can then repeat it over and over and over. And now take that to business. I have implemented a lot of automation using several tools that marry with each other. And the purpose is not to get rid of jobs. A lot of people think, oh, robots, they're taking humans' jobs. Well, that's true to some extent. They are taking some people's jobs. But what if you can take this automation and have it do those repetitive tasks that we as humans just detest? We don't like it. Why would you have your team, your VAs, your employees doing stuff they don't like? Because they're not going to enjoy and have that passion for your company to grow. They never will have that amount that you have, but you're kind of constraining them if they're getting these boring, repetitive tasks that can be supplanted with some kind of automation. So you have a human doing it that makes errors, and you have a human that's unhappy. And so your company's not going to thrive as great as it could. Implement automation, have that do the repetitive, mundane tasks, give your employees and your team tasks that stretch them, that give them ownership of each task, and give them the freedom to be creative and come up with a solution. Give them guidance, but don't micromanage them and say, do X, Y, Z. That's repetitive again. Now you can just say, well, if I can tell you every step what I need you to do, then I can automate that. I don't want my team doing repetitive, mundane tasks. I want them to be able to grow. I literally am training one of my VAs this moment. I tell her this very often on our meetings. I say, I am training you so that at some point you will have the ability to leave me, my company. And then I always coyly say, of course, you realize you can never leave me, right? And she would laugh, and we have a good laugh over that. But truly, that's what I do. Train them so well they could literally leave your company. And that means now they have this deep ownership. They love, they're more passionate about working with you. I never say for you. And it just creates a great synergy and a great culture. I now have more than one person on my team, and she, the one I'm massaging her and building her, she's become a manager, and she's managing others now. And she's taking that culture that we've developed together. I don't just say I developed this culture. We're working on this together. And she's handing it off to the next person. And it's a joy to see happen. And it's a joy to see people actually have a good time. You go on a meeting and you hear a laugh. You're like, that's not a meeting that I remember growing up with in the corporate world, where everyone's just, trying to slug their coffee and stay awake with the toothpicks on their eyes because they're bored beyond their gourd. And, you want to make things engaging, and by giving people a piece. So automation can truly be a godsend for anyone's business. It has been for mine, so that you can then task your people with things that they are truly built to do, which is to be creative. Those are not things that, at least for a big part of computing that I grew up with, they don't do that. I know there's AI that's come to the forefront. Creativity is involved in that, but there's a place for it. And it's, in my opinion, it doesn't replace a person on a job. It enhances their current position in your job.
Nice. That's beautifully said. Well, and that kind of gives a perfect segue into something I've already been thinking about wanting to ask you about, leadership, right? And what you described is such a beautiful thing, because the leadership you are bringing to your business is empowering that person, right? It's not just delegating. It's not just farming out the work. You're actually investing in helping your employees to become better people, happier people, more able to succeed on their own. with the aim to grow beyond you, which is beautiful. And like some people would actually go say, well, it's selfless. But, I think on some level, it's also selfish if we look at it from that perspective, because then you're going to have people that are more engaged and happier, right? And that creates a better culture. So what's your opinion about leadership? How is it important in just in life in general, and just actually, let's leave it there. How is it important in life in general, and how does one cultivate it?
Yeah, for me, it was, it was a lot, combination of things. But as I got older, reading books helped a lot of books on leadership. And one of the things I realized and I learned was that you don't have to wait till you have a team to learn to be a great leader. You can start training yourself to lead yourself as if you were one of your own people and think in that way and develop that culture. But I remember going all the way back to my college days. I loved, and still to this day, I love kids. They invigorate me. I love kids, their curiosity, everything about them. They're just walking curious beings, right? And I got the ability to coach them. I was big into sports growing up, played in high school all the way through, had a great time. And I was coaching a kids basketball team. Never forget this. I'm in a park in Seal Beach, California, where I was going to college in Long Beach nearby, and I was working for Parks and Rec, and part of the job was to coach a team, and they picked only those people that had sports background that wanted to do it. And so heck yeah, I'll do that. And we were on one side of this court outside on the asphalt, and there was a much older man coaching another group of kids, same age group, different team, on the other side of the court, half court. So they're on one end, we're on the other. We can hear each other plain as day. And my kids are going, I have them do shooting layups, whatever. But there's techniques to it. Jump off. If you're right-handed, jump off your left foot. If you're left-handed, jump on your right foot. Because if you were to stand up, you can tell that you can get up higher by the diagonal that you make with your body than if you stood up with the same foot on the same side of your leg. And I would, we went through all this. So our kids would go in there, shoot layups, and they're missing most of their shots. But that wasn't the point. They were trying. They were trying hard. And I would praise them. Good job. I could tell if they're trying or not. I can tell if they're doing it half-baked. There's another word for that, but I won't say that. And if they truly did do something that was against, instruction, and they did it on purpose, and they're just being defiant, I was like, give me a lap. There was discipline involved. But on the other end of the court, all I heard from this adult man was yelling, just yelling, because they weren't getting the result he wanted. They weren't making the baskets. They weren't doing something. But all I could just hear is this, ugh, it was oppressing. I'm like, God, those poor kids. On my side, they're not making the basket, but they're trying. So I've had this philosophy since before that time, but I've taken that into my business. And I tell my people, I said, look, I will never publicly berate you for anything. I don't care what it is. If you really messed up that bad, go ahead.
But you'll do it privately? You'll privately berate them?
I don't know. It will depend. I have not ever done it. And I'm not wired that way. Some people are, and that's okay. But if you have the propensity to do that, close the door, make sure no one else can hear, do them a favor, and not publicly shame them. There's another story behind that. I won't go there. I witnessed it once, and I was like, wow. And it was a guy I knew that did it. I'm like, holy smokes. But my philosophy is if they put everything, they're going to make mistakes. They're human. Everyone's going to make mistakes. And I see business owners yelling at their people, or really, smacking them around verbally and telling them how they screwed up and don't ever do that again. I'm like, wait a minute. No, you say, I know if you're trying your best, if you're doing the best you can, you followed my instructions. We just missed the mark on the outcome. That's okay with me. As long as you're putting forth the effort, that's all I can ask of you. And if it's a complete mismatch of skill base, we'll work on that. But usually it's not. It's just that they're a human. They made a mistake, an honest one, and I say, you know what, that's cool. I don't even tell them to go back and fix it. I say, let's move on, and next time it'll be better. You're doing a great job. Keep it up. If they do it on purpose, it just doesn't happen. It hasn't happened in my culture yet because of the culture we've developed. Not patting myself on the back. I'm just saying it works. Positive reinforcement beats negative reinforcement every day of the week.
Yeah, nice. Well, and what you're another way of speaking about what you're clarifying here is this is what Carol Dweck called the growth mindset. as opposed to the fixed mindset. And so for anyone watching and listening that wants to, take the wisdom that Brian is bringing forward here and go deeper with it, her book, what is it called? I don't know, Carol Dweck, Dweck. It's been a while since I've read it. It's the classic masterpiece on this, and it says, so clearly that when we reward people for their efforts as opposed to the results, or even worse, like what they're genetically wired to do, right? And it's so important with parenting and with children, but also equally important for ourselves, right? To develop that ability to say, hey, this is the effort I put in. That is within our control, that we can always improve and keep going. But that which, is not within our control, if we look at it that way, have a fixed mindset, well, we just stunt our growth. And I love part of what you're putting forward here is that, everybody can continue to grow and improve. And a key to leadership is cultivating that, right? Helping them to grow. Beautiful. So, golly, time is flying by. And knowing, though, that you are such a lover of learning and books, and you mentioned that a minute ago, what are some of your most impactful books? Like, what are the books that have made the biggest difference in your life?
Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. That what was his name? T. Harv Eker. Could probably read that 20 times. Another person brought it up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember that one. That was one of the best, and I would love to read that again. It's not about being a millionaire, and it's all about mindset, and it's unbelievable. And he would take pauses and say, put your hand over your heart and say this, and you say it out loud, kind of like affirmations, like, wow, this is cool. The Four Agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz, especially that, people don't take things personally because they're not meant to be personal. Most of the time when somebody yells at you and they're driving by you and we're like, oh my gosh, that person hates me. It's like, they don't know you. How can they hate you? They're letting off some steam, and it has absolutely nothing to do with you other than you happen to be in their line of sight. And maybe you cut them off inadvertently. It doesn't matter. Don't take it personally. So many things. My gosh, the Bible, of course, there's one and only, the number one. Yeah, I don't know. I have an entire library, reachyourpeaklibrary.com. Shameless plug, but it's not a money making website. It's there to just be a library for other entrepreneurs that I have. I love Grant Cardone. I've read, if he hasn't written another book in the last 4 or 5 years, I've read them all. I love this energy. I listen to Audible, and he is the narrator of all of the books that I listen to, and I love his energy. And I know there's two sides of the camp. People either love this guy or they can't stand him. I look at what I'm getting from the information. I don't look at what is my opinion of that person as much. That led another topic in my head, but I don't want to go down the rabbit hole too much. A lot of books that I've read, and I didn't start reading until about the age of 47. And that's when I met my mentor, Mel. And I was staying at his place in Newport Beach. He was like 2 blocks from the ocean. That's where I was like, oh, this is great. And my wife, they invited my wife. He's married to a wonderful wife named Kate. They had us over, let us stay the night. We went out and played on the beach and the ocean together and had a great time. But there was one morning I got up and he's walking around with headphones on. And this was some time ago now. And I'm like, so, hey, Mel, can you hear me? It's like, what are you listening to? I'm curious. I'm always curious about what successful people do. And he's like, oh, it's a book. I'm like, what? You're listening to a book? Yeah. So how do you do that? Well, it's this thing called Audible. I said, where the heck is that? So I did not like reading books with my eye strain. I don't know what it was. I could not pay attention long enough. And then when I got my first Audible book and listened to it, I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is the way to do it. I'd listen to it in the car every time I was not doing it in the gym. Whenever I'm not concentrating on a muscle and if I'm doing just cardio or something, I listen to books and like it opened my eyes through my ears. Ooh, that's a new one. I should trademark that. But yeah, books are a big part of life. And I didn't know it till the age of 47. I read hardly anything. And then I started devouring them and just, it's true. If you read the right books, and to do that, to find out what the right books are, well, you got a great resource right here. I'm usually on the other side. Daniel Aaron is a massive reader of books, and he just rattled off a few for all of you. And what I always recommend people do is when you hear someone like Daniel come on, or yours truly, anyone that's been in this arena and educated themselves through the reading of books, and they mention titles and authors, write it down and then go get it now. Order it. The second this show's over, order every book that Daniel just mentioned, and the ones I mentioned as well. And in whatever form you choose to ingest it, whether it's a physical book, Kindle, Audible, it doesn't matter. Get it, read it, and then read the next one after that. And that's my 2 cents on that. I highly recommend when someone like Daniel comes on and recommends a book. Daniel's got a great deal of success in his life. You follow success. Success leaves clues, I've heard said. And so that's one of the biggest recommendations I always give on my own show is when you get a recommendation for a book and it's from someone who has the experience that you want to get the results they have, you don't even question it. You go get the book and then you read it. Long answer to a short question, wasn't it?
Oh no, that's beautiful. That was beautiful what you said. The specific book recommendations I love, and also hearing your story of how you got into reading, or is it reading if we're listening, or is that something different? Hilariously, like this last week, I've been working on with an editor a new video that I'm about to put out primarily for YouTube. That's all about how to read more, better, faster, and more importantly, how to get more out of it, how to implement what you learn and put it into your life right away. And I go quite deeply in this video into a lot of what you just said, because there's so much confusion about, confusion. There's so much disagreement these days in the book realm, like, oh no, physical copies. No, electronic copies. No, I like electronic copies. You can highlight them. I can carry 20 books here, 100 books here, but Audible, that's not reading. That doesn't count. Like people have all these opinions. And my opinion is like, dude, when you tap into like the thing that Einstein said, which is so beautiful, right? You can't solve a problem by the same level of consciousness that created it. We all know that quotation. And what's amazing about books is you're tapping into an author or somebody who is on a different vibration, or that the book is on a different vibration. And whether we're listening or reading or a combination, we're actually getting into that vibration, which is so powerful. A new thought leader for me is Naval Ravikant. And I was listening to his almanac recently, and he said something I thought was beautiful, which hadn't occurred to me before this, which is he had the experience of forgetting how to read a book, because in the age we are in, we've gotten so used to blogs and podcasts, and nothing wrong with any of those. Blogs and podcasts and articles and short videos and TikTok, like awesome. We've got so many different ways that we can consume, right? That we can take in a different vibration. We can take in wisdom. Awesome. And there is something special and unique about a book, right? You know this because you've got a book coming out soon. Like the process to actually write a book, it's a big process, right? And it really forces the author to refine their thinking and repeat it and cut parts out and work with it over and over and over again before it gets to its final copy. So what Naval said is he had to teach himself to go back and actually stay with something, and a good audiobook. Well, it might be 8 hours. It might be 12 hours. I've listened to some that are 50 hours, right? My daughter and I, we drove cross country a few years ago, and we listened to the entire Sherlock Holmes series. It was 52 hours, I believe, of material, and it was amazing, right? So there's so much power in books, and I'm going to rein myself back in because obviously this is a topic that I get excited about. And to me, the bottom line though is like whether you like listening to or reading or whichever ones, whatever works for you is great. And there's that saying that leaders are readers, And I think part of what that is because it's that hard wiring that, so beautiful that you came back to say, I want to grow, right? I want to learn, I want to expand. And when we grow and expand, then automatically we're more able to help other people and help more people. Okay, end of my rant. Goodness gracious. Sorry about that. I got excited there. Thank you. And we are rapidly diminishing in time here. So I got a juicy final question for you coming up. First, though, what's going on in the world of Brian Kelly? What would you like people to know about you, and how can people get in contact with you? What are some of the ways that you are helping people now?
So yeah, that's a big question. I just love helping people. So a quick resource, if I may share with people, that costs nothing. It's called reachyourpeakclub.com. And there is basically what I call an entrepreneur discount house. Wow, that was quick. I'm impressed. Good job. Reachyourpeakclub.com. It's a free membership. Think of it like Costco or Sam's Club that doesn't have hundreds of thousands of products, and it doesn't have a membership fee. It's just got a few, but the few that are in there will help you to elevate your business quicker through automation and other resources in there. There's a great resource in there where you can pay very, very little money for a very high level membership of Zoom, which a lot of people use. So just one example, because I partner with a company that offers that. Another is, everyone in business is looking to market themselves. How do they get out to more people? How do they get, now it's about personal touch. It's about know, like, and trust. It's about getting out there so people don't just see what you've written, but they can see your face like they see Daniel right now. And so I'm very passionate about live video shows like Daniel's doing right now. And my company helps produce this very show we're on now, and my own and other clients as well. And the purpose of this is for massive exposure, not only for the host, but the guests that come on. But really when the rubber meets the road is the relationships you build are going to be lifelong with the guests that come on that you've never met before in your life. And I know this by doing it for now 5 years or so. The value you get from it is sometimes monetary. Oftentimes it's beyond description. You can't even put a money figure to it. And then I've learned more from my own show than, my God, I am the most blessed person to have my own show. And Daniel, you're now that as well. You're just gonna be on this wonderful ride. You're gonna make incredible relationships. You're gonna make great connections, and every bit of it will help both your business and your personal life. And it's something I love doing, and that's what we do. It's called totalbroadcastblueprint.com. That's just throw that out there. That's my current passion. It's been my passion for a good 4 or 5 years. We do a full-blown done for you. This isn't an ad spot. It's just, I love doing this stuff, and it involves a lot of automation. You might not have guessed that because it's live video. What the heck is there to be automated? Well, I have a free masterclass. Nothing is for sale. This is a perfect segue, and then I'll stop with this one, Daniel. Go to peakmasterclass.com. As we're doing this show right now tonight, it actually is tomorrow afternoon or noon for Pacific time. 100% free. Nothing is for sale, and you get to learn all the ins and outs, the backstory of everything about live video, why you want to do it, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. It'll give you a good stepping stone to decide whether or not that's something you want to embark on. Not necessarily with me or my company, just is it something that would be in your purview for your business? I would recommend it for every business out there. It's better than writing a book because the content changes every single week. A book, you spend forever writing it, which I just did. It will never change the content unless I write another book and spend another countless amount of hours. A show you do every week, a 1 hour show is the same as like a 100-page book. When you do the transcription, you've got a book almost every week, and it's brand new content, and it's high value, and it's current. So anyway, off my soapbox, I love this stuff. It's all about marketing, exposure, getting it, but it's really comes down to making relationships with other business owners. For me, that's what I love about it personally.
Well, yeah, thank you. And, I think it's worth it for me to let people know too, this being the first official show for me with the Art of Vibrant Living show, I've been planning this show literally for years. And even if people look at some of the older shows, like, well, this is the first one, how are there older shows? I was actually experimenting with creating a show 5 years ago, right? And we still have some of those episodes, and people can go back and watch them for entertainment purposes only, because they are hilariously unprofessional when I think of it now, even if some of the content is good. And I've been a guest on so many different podcasts and shows from different people, and I had the experience of, I didn't want to actually create a show until I knew I could do it in a way that felt to me fully professional, right? That felt to me like I could really take care of the guests in the way they deserve to be taken care of. Because I had the experience of going on so many people's shows, and it was, just not the ideal experience, put it that way. A bit sloppy or unprofessional, or I showed up and I was like, I don't know what to do. And, so being able to work with you and build the show and have it live and broadcast in different places, and then all the rebroadcast channels, and to learn how to do it in a professional way has been such a great experience. So I'm happy to just echo and sing your praises for anybody that wants to create a show. And it is still such an amazing way of sharing information, getting connections with people, serving people in the world. So yeah, I definitely encourage people, and I'll flash this back up here one more time, the Reach Your Peak Club too, because that's one of the ways I first met you, Brian, was understanding that. I'm a member of the what do you call it, discount Zoom club, which is fantastic. I mean, it's a service I would use anyway, and now I pay less and get more features because of it, as well as all I've learned from you in the automation world and support that way. So much that you offer people, and I think Reach Your Peak Club is a great way to just connect in and start to take advantage of that. So I'm guessing that of the many gifts that you bring to the show and that you have for our audience, Reach Your Peak Club is probably the best gift. Is there anything else you want to say along those lines?
Yeah, you pretty much covered it. It's just a great place to go. I mean, in there, you even can find the link to the Peak Masterclass, which costs absolutely $0. Nothing for sale. During the class, there's a call to action where you get a chance to talk to me personally for a full hour. And people won't believe this. They never do, but I don't sell anything on that call either. It's 100% Q&A, your time. So I just love giving back and helping people. And they'll know if they're ready to move forward with the show. And if they're not, that's okay. But this is going to give them the stepping stones like you were doing 5 years ago. That might be their time of their 5 years from now. They may then finally do a live video show. So I just want to get that, plant the seed, if you will, get the thoughts, the juices flowing, a little more knowledge on how everything works, what the right approach is. And that gives them more knowledge to decide, okay, maybe I will just start going and do my own live show now. And that's great. Or they'll record an audio only podcast. It takes less work, less effort. There's fewer touch points involved as far as marketing by far, but it's a place to start. So I just say, get going. If you don't have a podcast or a live show, what's holding you back? Well, go to peakmasterclass.com and you'll learn the basics, and we'll take it from there.
Nice, beautiful. Yeah. And having watched all those shows and been part of those masterclasses that Brian's speaking about, it's actually true. One of the rare people in the entire world that's not selling anything through that, and with such a heart for service, it's, you're really an outlier and a standout in that way. And I give you big props and a lot of credit for that. So thank you. All right. Well, we are at the end of our time. I got one more question for you, Dr. Brian. And that question, are you ready? Are you ready for the final question?
I don't know. Am I? What do you think? You know me pretty well.
Well, you're born ready, and you've already given a lot of answers to this, but I'm going to make it hard because I'm going to bring it down to just one. So with everything that we've talked about, everything that you've experienced and created in your life, all the work you've done, all the service you've given, for our audience, what is the one top suggestion you have for what would create a vibrant, thriving life? What can people do or not do to create a vibrant, thriving life?
I would say concentrate more on serving others than serving yourself. That's a human nature thing where we are looking to do what we want, to feed our own hunger. literal and figuratively. And the more you serve others, the more you give. It just naturally comes back, not necessarily directly from the people you're helping, but in other ways, the blessings come in, and the sense of fulfillment you get from serving others, helping others, giving them a little bit of a boost and assistance, no matter what they're looking for help in. Could be business, it could be personal, but concentrate, if you would, more on serving others than, not saying forget about serving yourself. Please don't do that. Love yourself, take care of yourself, and make sure you've got your own house straight. Because if you're not in an optimal health, then how are you going to help others? So be sure to take care of yourself first, of course, but day to day, look at how you can help others. How can I serve more individuals today? And in what ways can I do that? What gifts have I been given by God? What talents have I nurtured and improved upon that I can use to help serve others? Serving doesn't necessarily always mean doing it pro bono either. You can serve someone, charge them money, and they'll be more than happy that you're giving them that service in exchange for the money value as well. So I don't want that to be misconstrued either. So serve others, do it with heart, always give value when you, and look, we all know we're all human. We're going to make mistakes. You will never be perfect, but there's nothing wrong with striving for perfection. Just don't kick yourself every day because you're not there, because you're not going to ever be there, and be happy with it. Be joyful and live every day to serve others, and you'll see a great, vibrant life as a result, because I'm living that life right now.
Beautifully said. Yeah, it's so much of life is about our ability to place someone else in front of ourselves. In the yoga tradition, one of the first pieces of advice that Patanjali, the Yoga Sutra author, gives is called ahimsa, which when you get to the accurate translation, it means create as much love as you can, do as little harm as possible, or create as much good as you can. And it's all built on this idea that the other is really us anyway. It's an illusion that there is another. So the more we train ourselves to take care of that illusion of other, the more we're taking care of ourselves and the more we're becoming one. Beautiful. Brian, sad as it is, we're going to need to wrap it up. Thank you so much for coming on the show and for helping make this show a reality. I'm thrilled to have the chance to connect with you. And for all of you who have tuned in with us live or on rebroadcast, thank you. And I hope you have benefited and that you make your life a masterpiece. Take care, y'all. Aloha. Mahalo for tuning in to the Art of Vibrant Living show, y'all. I'm Daniel Aaron, and may you live with great vibrancy.